Hello YouTube, Tech Dragon here. As everyone knows, it is Banlist season. It is approaching the new ban list. So, as a YouTuber, you almost feel obligated to do a ban list prediction. So, I don't particularly enjoy these. This is by no means an actual list. Some of these are very illogical, but it's what I'd like to see for the game. So, and what I think would be good for the game. So, for recently banned after the September 1st, 2013 ban list, Card Destruction. This card has been previously talked about being banned for a long time. It's always been a problem in Dark Worlds, and Dragons, I believe, just pushed it over the top, allowing you to discard your hand, draw a new one, and with the possibility of also drawing into a Super Rejuvenation after that. It's just based off the sheer card advantage alone that you would have over your opponent is enough to essentially make it an auto win. So, Card Destruction is banned, as is Monster Reborn. This card has been seeing a little bit less play, however, it does not ignore the fact that it does special summon a card from your opponent's graveyard, which is just a broken mechanic, and it does it for free. So, Monster Reborn should probably go. Newly limited, we have Rescue Rabbit. This card is a 1-for-1 into an Ophion and Evil Swarms, which is Ophion by itself is bad for the game, but being able to 1-for-1 into it on your first turn is just stupid. Ophion cuts out a game mechanic, stopping the special summon of level 5 or higher monsters. Not to mention, it searches out, or Ophion searches out the pandemic cards. So, going Rescue Rabbit into Ophion is a 1-for-1, and then you get the Ophion Search, which then becomes a +1. So, Rescue Rabbit to 1. You don't need your opponent opening up with Rabbit and Evil Swarms, or the 4-axis Fire Fist, which is going to make a huge comeback because of the recent release of Wolf Bark. Now, also at 1, Glow Up Bulb. Personally, Konami went a little bit overboard with the plants, both banning Spore and Glow Up Bulb at the same time. They only did it just because they wanted to promote the sale of Exceeds. Neither of them truly needed to be banned. So, now that they are promoting Synchros again, I can see this coming back to promote the sales of future sets. Also at 1 is Big Eye. This card, like all of its other predecessors, Change of Heart, Brain Control, Snatch Steal, every card that has ever stolen a monster from your opponent, save a few like Psychic Jumper and Creature Swap, but those are fairly balanced card effects. This is just too good. It doesn't need to be banned just because Big Eye keeps itself in check. Back in the day of GOAT format, whoever dropped their BLS last normally won and was able to banish their opponent's BLS, so they couldn't get it back. Same goes for Big Eye. Whoever drops theirs last, if it goes to 1, will normally win because they'll steal their opponent's Big Eye, then use that effect and steal another monster. The ability for Dragons to go into this almost for free is just broken. This is the biggest problem card probably in Dragons. It's also a lot of their outs having also played the deck. So Big Eye to 1, it ends the Big Eye Wars as well. It would cause also anyone running it to truly think about playing it instead of just, oh, I have either 2 or 3 more, or one or two more in my extra deck so I can just burn Big Eyes. Limited to 1 is Lava Volcane. Infernities earlier this format were a very aggressive deck. With the release of this, the ability to put Infernity Archfiend on top of your deck and then just draw into it, or send Stygian Street Patrols and other various cards to your graveyard. There is an OTK or combo or something involving 3 of these, so limiting this would stop that combo and make it a fairly balanced card. Gold Sark Dragons made this card broken just for the fact that it became a +1, or it became a 1-for-1 immediately and then a +1 2 turns later when you got whatever you searched off of Gold Sark by searching any of your dragons. Dragons already run enough. They run 3 of each of the big ones and then the babies along with them for a total of 20. Running Gold Sark essentially ups that. Majority of people run 2 Gold Sarks in their Incarnate Dragon builds. So running 2 Gold Sarks essentially means you're running 22 dragons, which when you're able to run more than half of your deck as essentially the same card, yeah, that shouldn't be happening. So Gold Sark to 1. Royal Oppression at 1. This is just because with the, well, you'll see later in the list, this, one of the most influential cards this format has been Vanity's Emptiness and the ability to lock your opponent out of the game. I didn't put Vanity's Emptiness on here just solely because it can be destroyed. However, I don't think this ever truly needed to be banned, and it will stop some of the herp derp that you will see later on in the format via 3-axis and even some of the vampires. Although it's a rather unsupported deck, I believe that it can do fairly well. So, yeah. Not to mention, this is a balanced card. Both players can use it regardless of who controls it, and if it's at 1, most players will play it anyways. So, Royal Oppression at 1, Eradicator Epidemic Virus. I'm debating between leaving this card in the game or putting it at 1, just because at 3, you are essentially giving your opponent 3 more heavy storms, except it hits cards in your opponent's hand. As we've figured out, putting a 2500 attack dark monster on the field is very easy. Dragon's main way to do that is Big Eye, so another reason why that can go to 1. But Eradicator just cuts out another game mechanic similar to Ophion and Vanity's Emptiness, just stopping your opponent from having spells or traps for 3 turns. Yes, it does kill prophecies, however, also, before I forget, the one other banned card is Spellbook of Judgment Day. Prophecies are not going through this ban list unhit. Judgment Day will get banned. Yeah, so Eradicator, we've proven that the 2500 cost is very minimal, and the fact that it can essentially just insta-win against certain matchups. So, Eradicator to 1. Recently put at 2. To Gale, Blackwings have not been a very competitive deck in the recent format. Of course, nothing really has other than Incarnate Dragons or Prophecies. However, even, I believe, with the release of 3-axis, Blackwings will still not be that much of a competitive threat. So, Gale can slowly work its way off the ban list. I do not have any of the Mermails. I'm just using this to remind myself that I need to talk about them. I don't know if you people have forgotten, but before the release of Tachyon Galaxy, Mermails were the top deck in the format. So the reason why I have Gaios here is to mention that Dragoons should be put at 1, just because Agents had their Earth put at 1 for a little bit, and that slowed them down. Mermails have much easier access to Dragoons, because they can search it out through Abyss Spike or Abyss Thesis. One of them can search it out. And Abyss Megalo at 2, just because that is the primary problem card and OTK enabler for the deck. So if the deck has fewer access to its powerful OTKs, I believe it'd be a little bit more balanced. Draco Sack to 2. The majority of players play 3. This card isn't as much of a problem as people think. Yes, it does create a wall that can blow stuff up, or it just becomes a 26 beater. However, it's fairly easy to deal with. Before the tokens are on the field, it can be destroyed. It can be torrential, it can be compulsed, it can be bottomless. It falls to Solemn Warning and Solemn Judgment as well. So, as much as people complain about this, it's not that powerful of a card. What makes it powerful is the ability for dragons to just spam it. So by putting it down to 2, it will limit their options and limit the fuel that they can use to summon it. Just because if they're limited to how many they can play other than the max, they will be more cautious about just summoning this blindly into back row, assuming, well, I have 2 more in my extra deck, so I don't really care if they get rid of that one, I'll make another. Ophion at 2, just because this card cuts out a game mechanic of special summoning and can be 1-for-1 intoed, and then with its own search, as previously stated, becomes a +1. So this card is just overall bad for the game. I'm okay with the new Bujin deck that wants to protect a monster, but this is a monster that stops your opponent from doing things. It cuts them, it doesn't let them play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's kind of like Inzectors in the sense that your opponent has cards, but if they can't use them, what are they doing? They're just sitting there. That's what Ophion does. So Ophion to 2, it'll cause Evil Storm players to be more cautious about just dropping Ophions. It would also limit how many you have to deal with in a game, maxing it out at 2 that you would have to deal with. Tenki to 2. This is just a generic searcher for Beast Warriors. However, again, prior to Tachyon Galaxy, Fire Fists were probably the number 2 deck in the format. They were a good deck. They are a good deck. They still are a good deck. They just haven't been doing well because, excuse me of that, because Dragons and Prophecy have been dominating everything. So, Tenki, just about every other searcher or reinforcements of the army has generic reinforcements of the army has been semi-limited or limited at some point, and I believe right now is the time for Tenki, just because of the release of 3-axis and 4-axis at the same time, and the fact that they were decent decks prior to Judgment of the Light. The next card I don't have is Spellbook of Secrets. I'd like to see that at 2, just because you already run 3 Spellbook Magicians. That card's not much of a problem just because it can be Veilered. Spellbook of Secrets is a lot harder to stop, and if you truly wanted to, you can search it out. Also, Spellbook of Secrets, let's see, you have so many ways to search it, and then it searches for another one. Agreeably, yes, it's not that much of a problem with if Judgment gets banned. However, if Judgment just does go to 1, that would leave you 5 ways to directly search out Spellbook of Judgment, along with the other people will play, I think, 1 to 2 power and 1 to 2 Spellbook of the Masters. And along with your ability to recycle it with a field spell or Spellbook of Eternity, it's really fine that it gets put at 2. So, because Prophecies do have that ability to recycle their spell cards. Next up at 2, Super Rejuvenation. Yes, this card at 3 is freakishly amazing. However, it's not searchable. You have to draw into it. At 2, it just makes it a little bit harder to draw into. And with card destruction bans, Dragon players have less of an ability to just burn through their deck and try to draw into their rejus to just overwhelm their opponent with card economy. And newly unlimited Tsukiyomi. This card made a little bit of an impact, however, it was not tremendous. And the majority of people only play 2, so having it limited to 2 doesn't make much sense. So, yeah, that just about wraps up my Banlist predictions, or wish list, I guess, if you wanted to call it. If you guys have any other predictions or think I am wrong on any of this, please leave it in the comment section below. Please do not be rude or start comment wars. So, yeah. Just let me know what you guys think, and remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Tech Dragon out. Peace.